I enjoyed this process. I feel like Judy was in this role, I'm considering her mentor, in guiding this particular search. Her expertise really challenged us to focus on what's new, right? So we already know a few things about PrEP, but really what's new for women in particular, for cis and trans women, what could we learn? And basically, the bibliography is outlined by the 4 prevention methods that Judy talked about earlier, and really focuses in on pregnancy, on the randomized controlled trials that have been done. And the piece that I feel like is most rich and has the most data to kind of talk about some of the disparities that we talked about, as well as provider bias, is the section focused on attitudes, knowledge, and beliefs. I feel like that section has most of the juice, just because populations in the randomized controlled trials, they weren't diverse. So really, when we focus in on like who is most burdened by HIV, who is in most need of access to PrEP, we can't really find that out from the randomized controlled trials that are currently out there.
Yeah, it was really great to put together this bibliography, and I felt a need for it. That's part of where my involvement came from, because, well, first of all, I think HIVE is like the one-stop shop for all things around women and HIV prevention, and it seemed that it would be a really great thing for anybody who's looking for information to be able to go to one place and get it. And the research literature is part of that, and it wasn't yet available in one place, and so we thought that would be a great addition to have on the HIVE website. And also because there's a range of people who want to know about research. They want to know that some of their personal decisions are informed by their understanding of science. The clinicians obviously want to know what the latest research is telling them, and scientists want to know what's been found and what gaps still exist that I might take up in my future research. So we went through the literature and tried to, and did find, what was published so far, and it's an emerging literature. And so one of the challenges we have, in fact, is that every day another article gets published, and how we're going to keep this up to date is a question. But we tried to find at least what we thought were the most significant pieces of information from the published literature, a little bit from what we call the gray literature, which are publications put out by organizations that may not be peer-reviewed scientific journals, but most of the literature in the bibliography is from peer-reviewed journals. And it was important to include both the clinical trials data around the efficacy and effectiveness of various prevention methods, PrEP, PEP, and so on, but also the qualitative and ethnographic research that's been published that doesn't often get heard or seen by clinicians, for example, and other basic sciences, that is really about women's, in our case, women's attitudes, knowledge, perceptions, beliefs, fears, concerns about HIV and HIV prevention in the context of their whole lives. So I think this bibliography helps present that, and it also lets us know what's possibly been researched enough that we don't have to keep researching it, and then focus on what the next step is. So we do now, as we mentioned earlier, have a lot of articles around knowledge and attitudes and perceptions, and that's been for the last 6 years or so. We've seen some papers come out on that. And now the question is, okay, what are we going to do about that? Now that we know that Black women in this setting feel this way about PrEP, and this way about, in fact, biomedicine, what are the kinds of conversations and strategies that can be employed to allow those women an opportunity to choose to take a certain prevention method like PrEP or not, but at least be well informed and feel like they have the choices. So hopefully this bibliography will contribute to what are the next things that we need to research and the next things we need to implement based on that research.
Like we also had a few articles that was actually authored by HIVE, to give providers actually tools within their current practice on how they could be able to provide these resources to women, for them to make an informed decision around what method works best. And then we also did the conference.
Yeah.
abstracts, which I feel like the conference abstracts provides the more recent literature around this topic. So there are a lot of wonderful resources available on this website.